You
Good. How are you?
doing good. Good to see your face out in the Washington State area. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Bernard Nomberg. It's another weekly episode of Nomberg Law Live, and I am very pleased and proud to be speaking to a fairly new friend of mine, Amie Peters, out in Edmonds, Washington. Amie is an attorney who is a partner with the Blue Water Legal Group in Edmonds, which I believe is a suburb of Seattle. Is that fair to say?
Yes, we're just north of Seattle.
Okay. Additionally, Amie is the current president of Workers' Injury Law and Advocacy Group, otherwise known as WILLIG. And we'll get into what WILLIG is in a few minutes. Amie, thank you for getting up early. I know it's a couple hours earlier than it is on the Central Time Zone, but thank you for your time this morning.
Oh, no problem. It's my pleasure.
Well, if you would, let's just get into a little bit about yourself and tell us where you're from and then tell us a little bit about Blue Water.
Well, I've lived in Washington State most of my life. I was originally from the eastern side of Washington, which is a little bit like a different country now that I live here on the western side of Washington.
Sure.
But I went to law school at the University of Washington and loved it over here, so I ended up sticking. And I have opened up Blue Water Legal about 7 years ago.
Okay.
And have been practicing here with my sister, who's my law partner, myself ever since.
Well, very good. I know something about family law practice. As you know, my brother David, who's a friend of yours now as well, we have a practice together with our father. I know that can be sometimes can be very rewarding and other times can be a little bit of a challenge at times.
I love working with my sister.
That's great. Well, Amie, tell us a little bit about Blue Water. What type of cases do you guys do, and tell us about it?
Well, we're primarily a maritime firm. The majority of our practice is handling cases under the Longshore and Harbor Workers Compensation Act. And those types of cases are for boat builders or longshoremen or anybody who works kind of over the water's edge in maritime type work. And then we also handle some Jones Act case and some general personal injury cases. We don't do many Washington State workers' comp cases. Instead, we focus on injured maritime workers.
Very good. Well, I know being out on the Pacific Northwest, you probably have no shortage, unfortunately, of types of cases with the type of work that gets done out there. I do want to give a quick shout out to a buddy of ours, Tom Holder in the Atlanta area is with us. Good morning, Tom. Thank you for tuning in for a few minutes.
Good morning, Tom.
Amie, I also know that currently you're I don't know how long your term is, but you're the WILLIG president. And the Workers' Injury Law and Advocacy Group is a very large collection of like-minded attorneys around the country. And I'd like you to just kind of tell us what WILLIG is and what does it do?
WILLIG is a nationwide group of workers' advocates. We're attorneys who are dedicated to making sure that the workers' compensation systems around the country are fair, just, and adequate for injured workers.
And what type of, give us just if you know, a brief history of WILLIG. How did it begin? And the reason why I ask is our father, Joel, who's happily retired down in the Alabama Gulf Coast, he did workers' comp cases for over 40 years, and he's now happily retired. But back then, growing up in his law firm, I don't remember ever hearing discussions or communications by him with folks, with attorneys in other states who did work comp. He may have communicated with attorneys from different parts of our state in Alabama, but I don't remember ever collaborations with attorneys from other states. So tell us, if you could, a little bit about the history.
In approximately 1995, a group of about 20 attorneys from all around the country joined together and decided to do exactly what you're talking about, encourage different states to talk about what was happening in their workers' compensation systems. And it grew out of a bunch of reforms that were happening at that time and really kind of dismantling workers' compensation. They wanted to share ideas and see what was kind of coming down the pipeline. Mm-hmm. And from that group of about 20 attorneys, Willig has grown to over 1,000 members currently.
Wow.
And our whole goal is to make sure everybody knows the trends and kind of what is happening around the country with workers' comp. We have a large contingent of attorneys who will go and speak nationally at various lawyers groups. We go and speak before regulatory boards. We'll speak to pretty much anybody who will listen about the importance of workers' rights in workers' comp.
Well, with the ever increasing, what I call shrinking of our world with the internet and more attorneys and law firms becoming more proficient in communication that way, explain how the Willig members, how do y'all communicate? How is their ideas shared? What goes on within the organization that way?
We share our ideas a lot of different ways. We have a series of regional events. They get kicked off in December with our Northeast Regional. And then we have another event down south this coming year in 2019. It will be in New Orleans in early March. So that'll be a fun time. And then we come back here to the Northwest, and in Montana in even earlier March, actually, we'll have a Northwest event. And then this coming year in 2019, we're also kicking off our Midwest regional event.
And so that's throughout the year.
Yeah, that's throughout the year. So we kind of keep these regional conferences going, so that encourages neighboring states to discuss things. We also have an incredibly active listserv. So as issues pop up in states, people can talk about them in real time. We set up a series of committees to talk about issues. So hot committees right now are our drug formulary and opioid committee. We've also got a committee dealing with the gig economy and the changes with the gig economy. And we've got very active sections, including our Longshore and FICA sections. Both of these sections have monthly telephone conferences, so practitioners can actually communicate directly with each other about how to handle these cases and the issues that they're seeing in their practice. In fact, the Longshore conference is today. And then we cap this all off every September or October with our annual conference. This year, our annual conference is October 29th through the 31st.
And where's the annual conference this year?
It's in Las Vegas this year. We travel all around the country, but this year it'll be in Vegas.
Well, I know that my brother David has been very active in the organization the last several years, and he looks forward to those conferences, getting to finally see people in person as opposed to telephone calls or emails and the like. But I know that he and I have had a great benefit. One of the other benefits is not only you're collaborating with attorneys from all around the country, but it also sets up a referral system. If you need an attorney in another state, I bet you there's a Willig attorney somewhere close by who may be able to help you out.
We have Willig attorneys, I believe, in 49 states.
All right, what state are we missing? Where we got to go?
I can't remember exactly who it is. It flips between Idaho not having a member, and I believe I can't remember the other state. So I can't remember exactly who it is, but I think we have 49 states.
Well, I think that as president, maybe you should assign that task to David to help secure that 50th state. But I think that's fantastic that there's coverage, if you will, in almost every state in the country. That's awesome. That really is. I'm talking today with Amie Peters. Amie is with Blue Water Legal in Edmonds, Washington. Amie is also the president of Willig, the Workers' Injury Law and Advocacy Group. And Amie, I appreciate you spending some time with me this morning and spreading information about Willig and how how they do. I also want to give a shout out to my friend Gina Coggin, who I actually am in her law firm, her office today. We have another event just after this. Gina, thank you for joining us. And if any of you guys who are watching us live or even later would like to ask any questions about Willig or maybe Jones Act or Longshore cases, we'll make sure that Amie gets those. Also, Amie, we'll make sure that we put in the comments about how to get in touch with the right folks at Willig if somebody wants to join. Let's talk about membership. What does it take to become a member of Willig?
To become a member of Willig basically is pretty easy. You have to represent injured workers. We don't allow anybody who represents employers or the insurance industry to become a member. Instead, it's dedicated solely to individuals who only represent injured workers. And becoming a member is really easy. You go to our website, www.wilg.org, so willig.org, and you sign up. There's an annual membership dues that go to all of the various work that we do around the country, including our lobbying work and providing resources. And you can become a member very easily just by doing that.
It's my experience that most attorneys who do this type of work typically work in small law firms, meaning not many lawyers in a group. So your budget may not nearly be as large as if you were in a 10, 15, 50-man attorney law firm. And what I'm getting at is I know that there are ways, at least I understand, that if somebody wants to go to a conference and they're is it new to the organization or a young lawyer, I don't know the criteria, they could apply for scholarship or some type of financial assistance. Am I right about that, or am I speaking out of turn?
No, you're absolutely correct. For our annual convention, we always give away one scholarship. It was generously endowed by Jerry Rosenthal, a Florida member, to encourage new members to come to the convention and enjoy everything that our convention offers. Because our conventions are the best way to get to know the members around the country. They're very fun. Our staff and our executive director do an amazing job putting together a conference that's both educational and offers a lot of networking events. So to do this, I believe on our website we have all of the criteria to apply. You have to agree to become involved in Willig as an organization, write an article, become a co-chair of our paralegal section, and also have a board member or some kind of individual from Willig who is currently a member sponsor your application. But it's relatively easy. I believe David was one of our recipients not too long ago.
I think that he was in the past. I know he's enjoyed not only his membership, but being an officer and just getting involved and meeting so many lawyers who we've just learned so much from around the country. Amie, let's talk a little bit about if you can, the annual seminar and conference that's coming up in October in Las Vegas. I've seen or I've heard a little bit about just an awesome array of speakers who are going to be there, some of whom are not Willig members, but they've been asked to speak. Can you speak a little bit about, or give us a preview a little bit, if you will, about that?
So at our annual conference, we'll have 3 days of CLE materials. The first day is kind of general, overarching workers' compensation topics. We give kind of our annual update on the state of workers' compensation around the country. We talk about what our federal legislative group is doing. We then have also invited some doctors to speak on that day. We're doing our ethics talk that day, so there's opportunity for lawyers to get their ethics credits, which is always nice. And then the second and third days, we break up into 3 different groups. Our FICA section has their meetings, our Longshore section has their meetings, and then we also have a general workers' compensation section. During those days, we talk about everything from office management techniques to ethics to medical trends that are impacting injured workers to kind of how to make everything work and keep everything going while you're keeping one of our small businesses afloat. So it's a lot of good, fun information, specifically driven by making sure that we're providing real resources to injured workers advocates.
Well, I think it's been confirmed. One of my friends in Atlanta who does immigration law, Carol Williams, I think may be speaking in one of the panels or one of the times there. So I know that'll be great. You know, she doesn't do any work comp. She does strictly immigration law. So that's nice that y'all are branching out, because I know there are areas that cross over with undocumented workers who get hurt and the like. I do want to give a shout out real quick to my buddy Nick out in California. Thank you, Nick, for once again tuning in and supporting what we're doing here at Nomberg Law Live. For those of you just joining us, for those of you who may watch us in a little while, I'm with Amie Peters from Edmonds, Washington. Amie is a partner with a small law firm with her sister, proudly Blue Water Legal, and they do a lot of Jones Act and Longshore types of cases. And she's also the current president of WILIG, which is the Workers' Injury Law and Advocacy Group. Amie, I sure appreciate your time this morning and starting to, at least from this standpoint, spread a little bit more information about WILIG and hopefully either through this broadcast live or later on, other folks who watch this may become interested. One thing I meant to ask you a few minutes ago, we're talking about membership. Is it required that you're actually a lawyer to join the organization?
Yes, it is. That's in our bylaws.
Mm-hmm.
However, we do have a section for legal staff and paralegals who work for member lawyers. Okay,
very good. And are there opportunities? I know with most organizations like this, you have a hierarchy of officers and committee heads and the like. Am I correct in saying there's that same organization structure with WILIG?
Yes, there is. We're actually in the process of developing kind of a pathways to leadership. So as members want to get more active and become part of the leadership structure, they kind of know how to get there. And that's going to be posted on our website probably within the next couple of weeks if it's not already up.
Are there any, and we're getting close to the end, and again, thank you, Amie, for your time this morning. Are there any agendas? Are there any themes that you're trying to accomplish during this year within the WILIG organization? I know there's always topics that are hot that are around the country, such as changing or bettering the laws for injured workers. I know in Alabama that's an active thing that's going on with our task force, which is doing its work. But from an overall standpoint, does WILIG right now have any real hot topic issues or hot button issues that they're trying to make sure that those are addressed properly and timely?
Yes, my theme this year for my presidency was standing up for injured workers. And we have really focused on tracking and talking about big trends that are happening in injuring workers by lessening workers' compensation laws. And so our goal is to find ways to strengthen the laws, talk about areas where if we make improvements, workers are going to do better. They're going to get either back to work or have better lives after their workers in their workplace injuries.
Well, I hope that you're seeing some progress in that area.
Yeah, that's our goal. So one of the big topics that we're seeing around the country is the issue of the gig economy. So online forums that allow workers to to work as independent contractors. Many of these workers are not covered by workers' compensation. So if they get hurt doing these jobs, such as driving an Uber taxi cab, they oftentimes aren't covered by workers' comp and don't have the protections that workers' compensation will provide to other workers around the country. So that's been a hot topic. We're also really concerned about the treatment that workers are getting by medical providers. So insurance companies are dramatically limiting what treatments are authorized, what drugs are authorized, and so WILIG's paying a lot of attention tracking those topics.
Well, that's for those of you listening, Amie, thank you very much for sharing that. For those who are interested in joining WILIG, want to get involved in these types of very important topics and hopefully improving the laws around the country, I would highly encourage you to go to the Willig website, go to their Facebook page. Again, we'll put all that information in the comments section. Amie, again, thank you for your time this morning. I sure appreciate you getting to the office super early and spending some time with us.
Happy to do it. Thank you for having me.
Certainly, certainly. And guys, this will conclude this week's episode of Nomberg Law Live, and we'll be back next week on May 22nd. James Spann, who needs no introduction in the state of Alabama. He is chief meteorologist and has been known by many for many decades now. It'll be a real treat to talk with James. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day and your week, and we'll catch you next week. Bye-bye.